Hi, I'm Shannon Mowday, and thank you to the Cape Town Music Academy for giving us this platform to chat a little bit about our creative journeys, our lives as musicians, perhaps share some perspectives, see things from a different point of view. I certainly am one who wants to try and see things from every angle, hopefully open up something in myself that may be different, that I didn't know about, and also see things around me that's in a different way, to create an awareness and a consciousness of things that may be different to the way I thought they were or the way I might have always perceived them. I was brought up in South Africa and was a very active musician my whole life. And 11 years ago, I moved to Norway. That's a big change. Very different countries, different aesthetics, different approaches to life, and also some different thoughts about creativity and nurturing creativity within oneself and those around you. So these are some of the things I'd like to share, offer perhaps some food for thought and challenge a few pre-existing notions. The first segment of this series, 5-part series, is going to be about individuality. And that includes respect for yourself and respect for those around you. I'm going to start with a quote by Michelangelo. "Every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it." So, if we come from that point of view, that we are the most important focal point, that's what we have to say, and what we have accumulated in our statue, in our being, is what we need to get the tools to express ourselves. So that's what we need to use. If one looks at children and how free-flowing that energy is, that creativity, well, you can probably hear my son singing at some point. It's effortless, it's endless. And if we think about the idea of finding yourself and being yourself and all of that stuff, for some people it's easier. I use that word in inverted commas. It appears easier, certainly, that they've found their thing and they're on their mission and they've always known what they were doing. And for others, it seems to be a little more hidden. Certainly for me, certainly my discovery of what this is here took a little longer to scratch below the surface and work out what is put there, what is mine, and what is stuff I feel it should be, all of those things. So if we can get back, firstly, to the point we started this journey, where was the point of connection with creativity, and where was that seed planted? Now, that's quite a brutal question, because maybe it isn't something you want to be doing. Maybe it isn't real. Maybe it was something somebody told you had to do. Maybe it was something you were forced to do. Maybe it was something you just did. But it's important to understand where that starting point is. And the reason I say that is because through our lives, we go through different phases and phases of creativity. And for each one, we need to nurture ourselves in a different way. But there's some fundamental things that I think need to be there. So this idea of love for what you do. If you think about when you connected, when was that point? And then think about when you're playing something you love or hearing something you love, and there's no time, there's no space, there's nothing. You never have to look at your watch and go, oh, I've practiced for X amount of time. It's just effortless. It's a complete and utter connection to this thing coming from a place of love. If we then also look at curiosity, what is it that this person's doing? And you're trying to discover things, you're pulling apart, you're trying to solve a harmonic puzzle or whatever it is that floats your boat. That thing, curiosity, is vital, because at some point you have to find out what makes your little hamster run. Your hamster inside that keeps it going, keeps your creative wheel going. And as I say, you need different things at different points. So what keeps this little hamster running, or your gyro ticking, or whatever it is? That is also important to understand where you are in this creative process. And then if you think about the wagging finger that comes and says, you must practice, you must do this. you should play like this, you should be this. And sometimes that's in the form of an educator, in fellow musicians, or that one that sits on the shoulder that interrupts us when we're trying to practice or play, the one we feel we have to live up to. That's quite a destructive thing, because at some point that energy, it's not self-perpetuating, it's not coming from itself, it's coming from outside. So at some point maybe that hostility or that forcing might stop, and then what is left? And that's when you can address, okay, what is real here? What is genuine? What is honest in this process, creative process that we're going through? So for me, I'd like to share a story. For me, I had played many, many years in many styles and genres, and I never really thought about what I was doing. I was always on stage, and when I wasn't on stage, I was teaching or in the practice room at all levels. And I pushed myself immensely. I was a very, very busy musician. But at no point I kind of pushed the pause button to go, okay, what am I doing here? It was just I was doing, I got the call and I do. And then one year I heard some musicians at a festival, and there were some Norwegian musicians, a trio, and they were playing at such a high level, and it was all original music. There was so much interplay and so much freedom in the expression, and it was really amazing to hear this connection between these musicians. And what was even more, that scratched me a little, was that firstly they were my age, so that was also like, what am I, they're doing that, and how did this happen, kind of thing. But the thing was that they were having fun. They were like kids. They were playing with this boundless energy. There's this great word, galamphing, that comes from the Jabberwocky. This inexhaustible play energy. And the thing was, I had always believed that music needed to be serious. You need to practice and play and all of this kind of structure. And here they were having fun. It was a very, very interesting notion for me. And at the same time, there was this Swedish saxophone player, and I really admired his playing. He was in the bebop tradition, and I'd never heard this live. I'd practiced this way or heard this kind of music, but never live. And I just had to know what this was. So I packed my bags and went off to Sweden and focused entirely on my playing. And I never took the horn out of my mouth, and I got a lot from this man technically, and learned a lot of tools and things, but there was something that didn't quite gel. And I could not understand why I can't play like him. I'm practicing. And the more I tried so hard, it didn't ever sit right. And then one day, I got a phone call to say my dad was sick, and I was really worried. And of course I couldn't be there. I was doing my thing in Sweden, and at the same time I thought about losing my father. It was the fact that I lost my mom at the age of 18, and I never really dealt with that. I just piled myself into music and kept going. Survival technique. And at that point my world exploded or imploded. And I thought, why am I trying to play straight eights when my life is nothing like straight eights? And it was both literally and figuratively. And at that point, I realized that all this time I was trying to be like this musician, it was actually not possible. We hadn't lived the same life. We hadn't had the same experiences. How could I think that I should play like him? And it was that point where I picked up my tears and sat at the piano and started noodling. And my noodle became a song for my mom, in fact. And then I started playing over it, and it made sense. My playing made sense over my songs. And there were more, and I noodled more, and I composed more. And within a week, I had a whole repertoire of original music. I had never written before, composed. I had only ever arranged. I then went back to South Africa, created my own original group. And then from that on, that's been my journey of focusing with what's here and telling my story. Now, along with that kind of realization that what I have to say is my story. Nobody can take that away from me. You can argue, or you can talk about taste. Taste is another thing. If somebody doesn't like your style of playing, they probably never will, no matter how good you are. Taste is something that is individual, it's personal. But opinion, when we start saying this is bad, this is terrible, this is wonderful, this is great, that is limiting, both to the person who is saying it, because it actually takes you away from opening yourself up to something that might be a little different to what you are used to. And it also limits your understanding of other people's perspectives. So the thing is that with that realization, with the sinking of the shoulders to go, you know what, this is my thing. There's no need for this opinion of others. If you understand that your statue that you need to find out about is as important as the next person, then maybe you won't be so quick to put that next person down. That we can drop opinions, we can drop bad-mouthing, we can drop our thoughts about other musicians. We can just say, actually, that's not my taste, and leave it there. Not offer an opinion. There's a great saying, if you have an opinion about something, you're not informed enough. And I think this is the starting point, certainly for me, about focusing within and taking care of the statue that's here, leaving everybody else up to taking care of their own statues by the 10,000 hour rule. If you keep going at something, eventually what may be not good in the starting point might become good. But you leave everybody to do their thing, to find their statue, and you create your own statue, then we can talk about sharing creative space and creative freedom with this limitless, boundless energy, the same as children have.